Well, hello and welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn, and my very special guest, the radio laureate himself, Mike Read. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm very good. I see you photoshopped yourself onto another jacket.
You see, the joys of the blue screen. I told you, it's all just one glorious illusion, which is always fun. But you've got to do it. Because you said last time, you said, you've got to change, the change will do you good.
Can you illusionists just pluck something out of the air like that? I mean, could you do a trick without anything in your pockets now? Could you do an illusion just out of the blue?
Oh, absolutely. And out of the blue, I can make myself disappear. And back again. Okay. It will look great in the edit. We'll have a look at that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's always the truth. Well, I tell you what, go to a room and half the room disappears when I go anywhere. That's the best illusion ever. It's always. But my father was a magician. My father was a magician as well.
Oh, that's how you arrived in the world.
Well, no, he actually disappeared when I was 7. Yes. Sad but true. It's got to be good. Always a thrill.
That's as bad as the invisible man's outside. Tell him I can't see him.
Hey, well, you do know actually that Jill Ireland was my aunt, and she was in fact married to David McCullum, who played the Invisible Man. And we always used to say a family joke because they were over in America. So we'd always say, David McCullum, the Invisible Man, is our uncle, but we've never seen him. And it was true, because he would never come over here.
But he was also in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which makes it even stranger.
Isn't that wonderful? And then she went on to marry Charles Bronson, who was all those sort of death wishes and things like that, which was extraordinary. So a wonderful family stateside.
So she was just sort of marrying very famous, wealthy blokes.
But she was a really talented actress in and of herself. Jill Ireland, a very beautiful lady, and she wrote.
Oh, yes, indeed. She was your aunt.
Yes, isn't that extraordinary?
Really? Gosh. Yeah. I can see her face now.
Hey,
I didn't marry her, but I can see her face.
Hey,
yes.
I know. Always a joy.
She wrote
a book, and if you read her book, it mentions all about the Eborns with their loud voices and big noses. I think she says it's got to be good.
Well, you don't have a big nose, but your voice is certainly boomy. Yes, in a nice way. Yes.
Well, it's a family trait, and obviously noses run in our family as well.
Oh, very good. Yes, I'm there.
Thank you. What I love about these glorious moments we have together, and the letters have been flooding, and they really, really appreciate these things, because apart from picking the day's stories, there are sometimes really serious issues that you can deal with humor and stuff like that. And that was the inspiration for today's topic. Tell me about that.
It was in the news last week that a whistleblower, I mean, we were always told when we were kids that you don't tell tales, though you're brought up on the fact you don't tell tales. Now you're encouraged to whistleblow. And somebody quite rightly did on Amazon. One of the drivers said, are you aware of the phenomenal amount of stuff we take from 24 sites to landfill sites and just throw away thousands and thousands of good TVs, computers, hair dryers, toasters a week, just bury them in landfill. And I thought, this is madness. Because around the world, people were desperate for anything like that. Care homes, schools here, abroad. That if I was Jeff Bezos, and I don't begrudge him earning 200 billion, business is business, and he employs people, and that's no complaint there. But I would be to say, right, I'm going to do something good with this. I'm going to tell these trucks to take these down to the local school, the local hospital, the local care home. I really would, rather than just landfilling them. And the government response was simply, oh, we might have to look at changing the law. Yeah, so slow, like turning around a 20-ton truck. We might have to look at changing the law. No, get some school kids down there to stand in front of the trucks and say, come on, mister, let's get those off and get them down to, the local care home.
Well, there's the inspiration for today's. On a serious note, it's over to you then, Radio Laureate.
Amazon. Somewhere a child is dying for want of water, want of care. Somewhere a child is crying, offering up an evening prayer. Amazon, can you hear me, you god of the modern world? With every truck of unsold stock, you're burying a boy and girl. Sometimes life is trying, the stench of death is in the air. Sometimes life is cheaply lost for lack of medical care. Amazon, can you hear them as millions you destroy and landfill goods that could save the lives of many a girl and boy? Some way you could be helping, turning your waste into saving lives. Some way you should do penance, your commercial soul to shrive. Amazon, turn your trucks around and turn your products into aid. Your customers demand it, Jeff Bezos, for they have been betrayed. Somehow you destroy a vast amount of perfectly good production. 2 million items every week is criminal destruction. Amazon, your boss, is worth 200 billion pounds. Spare a thought for those in need that live in shanty towns. Someone raise your voice, for it needs more than government action. Considering a change in law won't bring early satisfaction. There are Amazons in the rainforest, disconnected from civilization, just as Amazon are, like some commissar, an international aberration. Someday the drivers may disobey the orders when they're meant to drive merchandise to the landfill tip and take it to a charity center. Amazon, you've been found out. You play by different rules. You killed the high streets, buried the waste, and played us all for fools. Some place where life is a struggle and kids want to better themselves. Just think of the millions of pounds you destroy of products you have on your shelves. Amazon, don't turn away. Don't turn a blind eye to your deeds. Multi-millions of waste every week could solve many wants and needs. Somewhere a child is dying for want of water, want of care. Somewhere a child is crying, offering up an evening prayer. Amazon, can you hear me, you god of the modern world? With every truck of unsold stock, you're burying a boy and girl.
Mike Read, dramatic stuff, important messages, and I think people should be aware of these things. I think the more we can shine a spotlight on the various practices that do go on, better. And one of the big things is like I'm very involved, as you know, with UK Harvest, which is a charity which is looking at food waste. And we had a big campaign with Jamie Oliver about wonky vegetables, you might remember, a few years back. And dealing with that sort of excess, and you can turn the mindset. And I think that's why it's important to shine a spotlight on these things. It's about education, isn't it?
Well, we had no idea. I mean, I had no idea until last week this is happening all the time, because we're all busy with our own lives, and you only read what you read in the paper, and you know, unless you're on the inside, you wouldn't know. So for me, like for many other people, I think it was a total shock to see they're throwing away millions and millions and millions of good, not faulty goods. I get that. If somebody doesn't want a faulty good on the market to say, oh, that's faulty, oh, it's one of theirs. I understand that you want to get rid of faulty goods, but they're all perfectly good appliances, and they're just binning millions of them a week. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sustainable clothing. I mean, you look at the whole clothing industry as well. And Mama Cherry on the food side, you might remember her. She had this rib shack with Gordon Ramsay, one of her stars of her program. She used to say, look, don't bin it, spin it. You know, and if you can look at these sort of things, that we're not throwing things away. And half the world, for example, is starving, but there's probably enough food to feed everybody. So we start looking, shine a spotlight on these areas as well, because we can make a difference.
Yeah, again, when it goes back to what our fathers used to say, if you left something on your plate, or there's somebody in whichever country it was at the time could do with that. And of course, as a kid, you'd be sarcastic and say, oh, well, I'll put it in an envelope then and send it to them, shall I? But yeah, the practicality is, yes, you left food on your plate, but what do you do with it? Okay, now we put it into a food bin. Before we put it into a general bin, it just went into, along with everything else. But I think we're more aware now. There are generations coming through that are greener and more aware, certainly.
Yeah, I think shining a right spotlight on the issues, giving people a chance to respond and think about things, then they can make informed decisions. Radio Laureate, thank you so much for shining that spotlight on such an important issue.
Thanks, Andrew.